Hi everyone, welcome. Welcome. I always like to buy a little bit of time at the beginning of these because technology works in mysterious ways and it always takes a minute for people to trickle in. I can see our attendee numbers ticking up and up and up. So we'll just wait a little bit as everyone um, logs in and settles in to listen to our incredible experts on the panel today. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. All right. Okay. Um, Welcome everybody. Thank you for attending our webinar today about finances. We have some incredible panelists here from our Student and Departmental Accounts Office, as well as our Financial Aid Office. I will let them introduce themselves in a minute here. Um, and I will also introduce myself in a minute. I'll give you just a quick look at our agenda for the day. We're gonna do a little introduction and meet those who are on this call. The offices and the panelists represented here. We will hear from financial aid. We will then hear from student accounts. At the end, we'll have time for a Q&A, but I also like to mention at this point that the Q&A function in this webinar is open now. So if you have questions, burning questions, questions that you don't want to forget to ask, you are welcome to put questions in the Q&A at any point throughout this webinar, and we will either answer them live as we're talking through our different sections, or we might type an answer in there for you to see and for everyone to look at the answer. And if we don't get to it during the different presentations today, know that we'll have time at the end for that Q&A to talk through some of the questions that we're seeing pop up in the Q&A. And with that, I will introduce myself. Hello, everyone. I am Melanie McManaman. I use she, her pronouns, and I work in the first year experience office. And I will be supporting your students throughout the summer. The first year checklist, transfer student checklist, those run through our office. So we're kind of a central hub that you, if you have questions, concerns, doubts about what you're doing over the summer, you're welcome to start with our office. It's a great place to start. Sometimes we can answer your question, and if we can't answer your question, we oftentimes know who to connect you to get you the answer that you need. I am going to pass it over to Anastasia really quick to introduce herself.
Thanks, Melanie. Welcome everyone. Hi, I'm Anastasia. I work in the financial aid office and we'll be trying to answer your questions about what it is that we do in financial aid and how we are connected, how the work that we do and the work that you do with our office connects with my colleagues in student accounts. So I will pass this over to Carrie.
Thanks, Anastasia. Hi, I'm Carrie. I'm the Director of Student Accounts, and our office is the office that sends out the billing information, and we partner with the financial aid office to go over sort of any ways that your financial aid would impact your billing. So that is who you would be connecting with if you had questions in regards to your billing and the way that that looks in your account and how to pay those bills. And I'm going to pass this over to Katie.
Hello, I'm Katie McMean, and I'm a student account specialist. I work with students whose last names start M through Z, and so I'm one of two here in the office, and I'm the person you'll call probably most often. I'm always happy to hear from you with questions about how to reach the Student Account Center, which you'll learn more about, how to pay, what is that charge, all of that falls in my wheelhouse.
Thanks, everyone. All right. Oh, gonna pass it over back to Anastasia.
All right. All right, so let's talk about the financial aid office and what we do. And Many of you have already been working with our office. We're the office that prepares the financial aid offers that you received over the course of the winter and spring to help you understand what types and amounts of financial aid you or your student is eligible to receive here at Lewis and Clark. So we put together those aid offers and we send them out to our students. And then we'll process any financial aid that the student is receiving. And we'll do that for our incoming students like you, but also we'll be working with you over the course of the time that you or your student is at Lewis and Clark. So we do all of the financial aid awards for our continuing students as well. Importantly, what we do a lot over the summer is we'll be processing any of the student loans that your student is accepting. And then any of the accepted student loans, plus any of the grants and scholarships that your student has been awarded, we will move from the financial aid office onto your student account at the time, at particular times during the summer, so that those funds are available to go towards any of the charges on your student account. So that's what we do. We determine what aid your student is eligible to receive. We process any of the student loans that your student is interested in receiving, and then we move all of those funds over onto the student account. So I do want to spend just a little bit of time here talking about how to accept loans. We don't automatically assume that your student is planning on borrowing the student loans. In the financial aid offer, what we do is we will let you know the maximum amount of loans that a student can borrow under the federal student loan program. And so it's going to be up to your student to tell us if they would like to borrow those loans, and if so, how much they would like to borrow. It's important to know that because what we offer is the maximum that your student can borrow, you or your student can accept less than that amount. And the way that you do that is through our financial aid self-service portal. There'll be an accept button, and then there's a little place where you can also put in if you're planning to accept less than the full amount of the loans. Besides letting us know in the financial aid self-service portal that you would like to borrow loans, your student will also need to log into their studentaid.gov account, and that's just the account that they use to submit the FAFSA. They will need to complete a master promissory note, and then it's called loan entrance counseling. It's just a little online session about the student's rights and responsibilities as a borrower under the federal student loan programs. But once we know your student would like to borrow the loans, and they have completed the master promissory note and the loan entrance counseling, then we can set the loan up so that our colleagues in student accounts know that those loan funds will be coming. Now, we can't actually apply the loan funds onto your student's account until right before the beginning of the semester. But as long as your student has done those steps with their student loans, then Katie and Carrie and all of the great staff over in the student accounts office, they can know that those funds are coming, and they can answer any questions that you have about how to cover anything that remains after those funds come in. I'll be looking in the Q&A here and answering any questions that I can over the course of the presentation. But for right now, that's what I wanted to make sure that you knew. And I'm going to turn it over to Carrie.
You have it queued up for the video, Melanie? Great. So for our portion of the presentation, we're going to actually just show a short video that provides guidance on how you would go about accessing your billing information, and then also pieces of within that billing platform, things that you can access as far as how to set up your refund for direct deposit. Should you have a refund that's going to be issued to you, how to set up authorized party access so that your parent or guardian or whoever else you want to have participate in your accessing your billing information can also have access to that. So if you want to go ahead and cue up the video, Melanie. That'd be great.
Yes, and I will also mention, as many of you know, this will be recorded and we will post this ideally by the end of the week. So if you miss something or you aren't taking notes quick enough, know that all this information will be posted later. Yes.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Lewis and Clark College. My name is Carrie Barnes, Director of Student Accounts. During this presentation, you will be introduced to student account staff members, provided with some important due dates. I will share with you how you can access the Student Account Center, show you where you can complete the health insurance waiver, and lastly, I'll share with you the final deadline for students to make sure their account balances are settled in order to avoid a registration hold. Our office can be reached at accountservices@lclark.edu. Currently, Amanda Aldridge and Katie McMean are our two student account specialists. Amanda is the designated contact for students with the last names A through L until July 3rd. Following July 3rd, students with the last names A through L may contact Jolie Allen. Katie assists students with the last names M through Z, and Jolie Allen is our student account coordinator. Some important dates to remember are the fall 2025 cost payment deadline of August 8, 2025. The last day to waive the student health insurance for the academic year is September 16th. The last day to waive the green energy and media fee is also September 16th. If you are on the payment plan for the fall semester, you will want to remember that November 10th is the last payment for the fall payment plan, and looking ahead, the payment deadline for the spring 2026 semester will be December 12th. Student account information is accessible through the Student Account Center. When a student logs into WebAdvisor, they navigate to Student Finance Self-Service under the Financial Information section. Within Self-Service, click Student Account Center, then proceed to Processor to be directed to the Student Account Center. Here, you'll see a summary view of your account details that will display the total amount due after any pending financial aid and sections that allow you to manage your account. At the top is a bell that, when clicked on, provides important notifications, as well as the contact information for Nelnet, our third-party service provider for the Student Account Center. Under your profile information section, you'll see where you can add Authorized Party access for a parent or guardian by clicking on Add Authorized Party. In this invite screen, you will enter your parent's, guardian, or the responsible party of your account that you wish to provide access to your account details. Once you submit this information, the person you want to have shared access will receive an invite to the Student Account Center and be asked to create credentials of their own to access your student account information. I encourage you to establish access early, as we will be unable to speak with any other party than you about your account information if shared access is not given. From the Student Account Center, you are also able to view details of your account activity by clicking on Transaction Details next to the balance at the top. This provides a live breakdown of current activity on your student account that can be sorted by date, term, description, or amount. If you click on Estimated Aid under Current Activity, you'll be able to detail into the financial aid information. Here you will see fully processed estimated financial aid. This is the financial aid that has not posted to the student account yet, but is ready to post once we begin processing. Should anticipated financial aid not appear in estimated aid, this may be an indication that there is still action required for the aid to fully process. Should you have any questions about the unprocessed financial aid, you should contact the Financial Aid Office at fao@lclark.edu. Students also receive a monthly e-bill notification emailed to them that directs them to log into the Student Account Center and click on View Current Statement. This provides you a snapshot of your student account activity at the time the printable PDF was created. If you have provided Authorized Party access to another party and they have created their credentials for the Student Account Center, they will also get an email when a monthly e-bill is available for view. Please remember, this is only a snapshot in time. You can always see the most current information by clicking on the account activity. Students wishing to pay for their tuition and fees over the course of the semester have the option of a 5-month payment plan through Nelnet. This plan has a $40 setup fee, but there is no interest charge for this plan. In order to enroll in a payment plan through Nelnet, you will need a U.S. bank account. The fall plan started on July 10th and ends on November 10th. Other payment options are to pay in full via credit or debit cards that are subject to a 2.75% convenience fee, or pay using a checking or savings account, which does not have an associated fee, or remitting payment via Flywire for international funds transfers. The last section to review within the Student Account Center is establishing your refund preference. To establish direct deposit, you'll need to provide your personal banking information. This will allow direct payment into your personal bank account if you are eligible for a refund. If direct deposit is not established, a refund check will be mailed to your preferred address on record with the college. Next, I will share with you the website for waiving the student health insurance. Students who have comparable health insurance of their own may waive from participation in the LC-sponsored student health insurance through the link provided on this slide. All students are initially enrolled in the student health insurance. Once a completed waiver is approved, the student account will be adjusted within 3 to 5 business days. Students are provided one opportunity a year to waive coverage for the full academic year. The waiver must be completed by September 16, 2025 for this academic year. Please be sure to note all account balances must be paid in full, covered by fully processed financial aid, or have a payment plan established by August 30th to avoid having a registration hold placed on the account September 2nd, the first day of the semester. I understand this is a lot of information, so please reach out to our office if you have any questions or need additional guidance. Thank you for your time, and we wish you a fantastic semester.
All right. So we have time now for any questions that have come up. I see that we already had a couple questions come through the Q&A. I'll give everyone a minute to think about if they have any questions to start populating them into the Q&A here. Let's
I
see.
did see a question about federal work study, and I wanted to make sure that that we talked just a little bit about that. Many students are offered work study, either Lewis and Clark work study or federal work study as a part of their financial aid award. But when I talked earlier, I mentioned that we'll move any of the grant and scholarship aid or any of the student loans that your student has accepted onto their student account. I did not say the work study doesn't work that way. It works just a little bit differently. Work study is an opportunity to work on campus. And so if your student has work study as a part of their financial aid award, they will need to search out and secure a position on campus. Our HR, our Human Resources Office, does post open student jobs. And so there's probably not a lot posted right now, but as we get closer to the semester, supervisors will start to post their positions, and certainly many positions are posted over the course of the end of August, first part of September. So if your student is interested in working, have them monitor the open job positions that are listed on our HR department website. They will interview for and secure a position on campus, and then they will be paid for any of the hours that they work. Our paydays are on a monthly basis at the end of the month, and then students receive directly their paychecks. We do really encourage students to set up direct deposit so that those funds go directly into their bank account. Now, I know in Carrie's video, she mentioned the setting up direct deposit for refunds, and it's a separate setup process. So you'll need to set up direct deposit for any payroll, work study payroll checks, and that is separate from setting up the refund direct deposit through the Student Account Center. But students are paid for the hours that they work. And then what we recommend students do with any work study earnings is to use those to fund their personal expenses, perhaps their spring semester books, so that that they're not kind of on the hook to use that money to pay towards their student account balance. That gives them the flexibility of working the right amount of hours for them and their supervisor without having the pressure of needing to make those payments onto the student account.
Great, thanks so much, Anastasia. We have some questions coming in here. Let's see. I do see a question here that's a little bit more specific about the coverage for the health insurance here at Lewis and Clark. And I'm going to answer that question with a link to reach out to our health insurance representative on campus who works with Pacific Source to talk through maybe more like specific coverage about if you have questions about what the plan covers. So I'm going to answer that question with a link to the email, but also you can reach out to the student health insurance coordinator on phone. All of that information is available on our checklist website. You can go to the task for the online health insurance waiver and click on the online waiver link. It will take you to the student health insurance page. So that is that question. Are there any questions that anybody would like to answer live? Oh, are there work study for off-campus jobs? Does anyone know?
There are the college can we will set up off-campus work study opportunities at some nonprofit organizations around Portland, just a handful of different positions. I know this past year we had positions at the Portland Art Museum and a couple of other nonprofit organizations. One of the things to know about off-campus federal work study is that it can, and I will say off-campus work in general, is it can be a little bit challenging, just the logistics of it. We do have our Pioneer Express campus shuttle that can take folks down to some different kind of jumping off points to get on public transit, but sometimes those positions are just a little bit more difficult to get to and to get back from. And so what we tend to see is that more of our upper class students take advantage of those types of positions because they are allowed to have a car on campus and they can sometimes better manage just the logistics of transportation.
Carrie, did you want to add something about the insurance?
Yeah, I'd say the same for if you had any questions about declined coverage or being declined from the waiver, also reaching out to the student health insurance coordinator as well so that they can review that with you and see if it could just be that an answer was responded to incorrectly on there. They can go ahead and walk you through that process. So I'd say reach out to that student health insurance coordinator at Lewis and Clark. And then it looks like we had another health insurance waiver issue. I would recommend reaching out to your student account specialist here in our office, and we can go ahead and see what could be the complication and why access is being denied on there. It could just be that you weren't included on the initial roster, and it may be just this upcoming week that you'll be on there. So go ahead and reach out to our office and we can dig into that a little bit more for you. And then Melanie, I have a question. Just I couldn't recall. Did the health insurance presentation already happen, or is that next week? I couldn't remember the timing of that.
The health and wellness webinar happened last week and it's posted on our website, the recording. there were some questions about health insurance and they were talked about in there. And we mentioned also to reach out to our health insurance coordinator.
Okay,
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
So that might be another place for a resource for people to go and check out that video if they missed that presentation last week.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I will post a link to our to all of our webinars and where you can find the recordings after they happen. I see a couple questions here about I just missed the beginning of this and also about last week's and previous webinars. So I'm going to go ahead and drop that here actually in the chat for everyone to see our webinar link. This is where you can find our previously recorded webinars, including last year's, if you're interested, and also links to the upcoming webinars as we have them.
I'll go ahead and answer this one from Tammy live on here. So yes, it is a per semester that you'll be billed and per semester that the costs will be due. So for the fall semester, the costs are due on August 8th. The August 30th date that was on there, we're just informing you that is the final date before a hold would be placed on the account. That would prevent any sort of registration activity. So we do block students' registration for being able to add and drop courses if their account isn't settled. So we want to ensure that all costs are settled by that date to not create any complications with any add drop.
Melanie, I noticed there's a question here about parking on campus. Do you happen to know the answer to that question?
Yeah, I know I did see that question. It says off campus. I'm assuming it probably means on campus. If you are a first year student, you will need to contact transportation and parking to request a waiver because first year students are not allowed to have a car on campus. But there could be exceptions if there's a student with a job or that needs to live off campus, that's a commuter student, etc. So the contact for that would be to reach out to transportation and parking. I will drop their email address and phone number responding to that question.
No, but I will follow up with and say that there is no Lewis and Clark campus parking allowed in the neighborhood. And that's the same for any of us who work here or any of our students, any member of the Lewis and Clark community. You need to be parking either on campus or you need to be using public transportation or the Pioneer Express.
Yeah, I do see there's a follow-up asking about the off-campus, but there is, as Anastasia mentioned, the Pioneer Express, that bus, that the shuttle that runs. We have on our website, you can find the times and the locations that it goes to. If parking on campus is not going to be a possibility, then I would recommend looking at that schedule and maybe planning when you would like to park in. I know it drops off in the Fred Meyer parking lot, like pretty close to campus, so that would maybe be the best place to park for the day and then take the Pio up and possibly back if needed. We also get a discount, a pretty significant discount for TriMet for the public transportation. So if that's something that a student is interested in, our office can help you get connected with parking and transportation to get a discounted TriMet pass to be able to take the bus, which comes really close to campus. Gabby, our student director here, has also mentioned that we do have zip cars that students can rent out that park on campus. So if that is something of interest, you can take a look at the costs for zip cars if you're needing to have access to a car just occasionally. I have a question here about when is the soonest that a student can add an authorized party, and Katie is answering. Does somebody want to mention? Go ahead.
I'd be happy to answer this live too.
Thank you.
So, I mean, I'll finish my reply to you, Jennifer, as well. But students can go in to add an authorized party as soon as the student account center opens for their access. That won't happen until there are charges on their account. So we're anticipating that happening early July, hopefully July 7th. It does take some coordination between departments, so we're aiming for that date, but it can shift a little. As soon as that's open, students will receive an e-bill and they can go in to the Student Account Center, get all logged in, and add an authorized party at that point.
They should, just to clarify, they should be able to get in there June 30th.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was my mistake.
No problem. So yeah, they should be able to, but you won't have any activity in there for reviewing for your account. But if you wanted to jump on there for the authorized party piece, you should be able to get in there at that point in time.
I've also just posted in the chat the student health insurance email information as well as their phone number. So their extension at Lewis and Clark is going to be 8235.
All right, I do just want to just put something out there about purchasing books. Books are a really important part of how students are successful at Lewis and Clark. And so I just want to make sure that people, books are separate from the from the student account and from some of the things that we're talking about, but it is important to remember that your student will need to come to campus with funds to purchase books for the courses that they register in. And so in the financial aid offer, we estimate the costs of books at about $400 per semester. That varies widely from student to student, just depending on the course load that the student is taking in the particular classes that they're registering for. But do remember that that's an important cost that you will not be billed for by the college, but that that you will need to plan for as you think about arriving on campus for new student orientation.
Does the bookstore buy books back? Does anyone on this call happen to know that information?
I can speak a little bit to that. I'm not the bookstore, but what I hear from students is that many students actually will choose to rent books rather than buy books. It's a less expensive option, but of course, it means you can't keep the books. But you're returning them back at the end of the semester. Occasionally, I think that students can, if they've purchased the books, sometimes the bookstore will buy them back at a reduced amount at the end of the semester. But I think a lot of students rent their books. And so it's a lower cost up front, and then they're returning the books. I don't know, Gabby, what do you think students do? How does that work for you?
Yeah, let me
And your
jump in
friends.
this question. Hello, everyone. I'm the student director. As a student, I can say that sometimes, yes, the bookstore buys the book back, but it depends on the author and like the company where the book comes from. Not all the time books can be sell. They if you buy a book, either you can ask first the bookstore if you can resell it back, or otherwise you will have to keep it. You can rent the books from the bookstore, but also a lot of students here at school try to find the books online or secondhand bookstores that are more affordable. You can also check, as a student, I would suggest also to connect with the teachers first before buying a book, because sometimes they will ask for a book, but you only will read 2 chapters of one chapter, or not the entire book. So I know that books can be a little bit expensive in that way. Depending on what major you are, you will require more than just 2 books. So those are my suggestions as well.
We also see a question about will the books that are required for courses be sent to you? No, they will not be sent to you. Oh, as in like the list of what you're required potentially. Gabby, can you speak a little bit to how you find out what books are required for what courses and when about to go looking for those and finding the best deals?
Yeah, absolutely. So once you sign in or register for your classes, you can check your status with advisor. There is on the right section, um, find my text or my textbooks label. Where you click in there, it will direct you to the bookstore portal, and you will have to create your own account. And then you can see all the books that are listed for each of the courses, with a name, what volume of the book, are, and all the information is gonna be there. But it is something that you will not receive an email for, so make sure to go to WebAdvisor and check it out.
We have a question here about if there's ATMs on campus, and we do not have any ATMs here on campus. There is Chase Bank, which is relatively close. I'm not sure, Melanie, are we going to be having representatives from different banks on campus again during NSO?
It's likely we will have some banks on campus. I don't have the list of which banks will be available, but we'll get that up on our schedule as soon as we know. But what Carrie is speaking about is that during new student orientation, we usually reach out to some local banks, and they will come to campus during a day of our orientation, usually on the first day during move-in day. And you can go and chat with them and potentially set up an account if you're interested. So we'll post which banks will be in attendance during new student orientation once we have that list.
Adding to that, on a regular school year basis, the 2 closest banks that are on campus is one on Silkwood and in closer to Fred Meyers, where the PIO comes very often. So for those students who need a bank, those are the best options. It will take like 5-minute ride, like a 5-minute bus ride. It is very short and very accessible for students.
All right, I see a question about besides the books and the health insurance, other charges to anticipate. First of all, there are very limited number of course fees that you may see on the student account billing, and that's just based on whatever courses your student is registering for. And I think besides that, the only things that I can think of, unless Carrie and Katie, you think of other things, is, there may be some things that you'll need to buy to set up your residence hall room. You know, sheets or towels or blankets and pillows, you know, things. Many of these things may be things that you already have and you can bring with you to campus, but there may be some things that just aren't, they're difficult to pack or to transport to campus that you may want to be purchasing to kind of get the room set up.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right for anything that would be an expense that's not on your student account, that you want to plan for. Would be things for your residence hall, transportation, items of that nature. As far as your student account is concerned, the only other miscellaneous charges that are applied to student accounts, there's a health and wellness fee. And there's a green energy fee and a media fee, which are all listed as cost items on our website. And I could put that link in there as well, so that you have a comprehensive list of what charges could be incurred on a student's account.
The question's coming. I believe there's a question that's still in our Q&A that was answered maybe previously. I want to say that it's referring to, it says, when can students apply? I want to say it's referring to the work study that Anastasia mentioned. And as Anastasia mentioned, Workday is where you can find those opportunities. And some jobs may open up for first-year students over the summer. I know that the Career Center sometimes hires first-year students for peer career advisors and such. So you can take a look at Workday as we know about them. If we see an opportunity to tell all new incoming students about an opportunity for work study positions over the summer, we'll do our best to include those in our weekly emails that come out on Sundays. So keep an eye on those emails.
Oh, yeah, Melanie mentioned Workday, and that's the system that our human resources office uses. And so we think about it as Workday. When you're looking for it on the website, you'll search for human resources on the Lewis and Clark website, and then there's a link for student jobs, and you'll just go in there and you'll be able to see the different opportunities that are out there.
Yeah, thanks, Anastasia. I'm actually going to look for the student jobs link and post it in our chat here.
Yeah, and it just to know that they're likely that the student jobs listing are very fluid, and so there will be, I don't expect that there are a lot of jobs out there right now. There will be more jobs posted over the course of the month of August and September, or even October. Supervisors will be posting jobs, and there's a great variety of different types of jobs. All of our offices hire students to help us in one way or another. The library certainly hires a lot of students. Our athletics department hires a lot of students, sometimes for regular positions, and sometimes they need students just occasionally for game management and to help with their facilities. Also our grounds crew, a lot of our students love working on the grounds crew because they're inside studying and in classes and labs and everything else, and they don't want to be inside anymore for their jobs. And so you'll see them outside tending to the beautiful campus and just enjoying being outside. So there are all kinds of different positions that are available. Also our food services contractor named Bon Appetit. Bon Appetit will hire students to help in their operations on campus. And so there really are a lot of different types of jobs that are available. What I would encourage is, especially for our first year students, is just to be really open to different types of jobs. I think that if students are open and flexible in terms of the type of job and in terms of the schedule that they're willing to work, then they're typically able to find work.
So I'll answer, excuse me, answer that question about meal plans. There's a meal plan, or there's a question, is there a meal plan, and when and how do students pay for that? So meal plans are selected by the students through the campus living portal. And then the charge for that is put on their student account. And so it's paid however families are choosing to pay, either with financial aid or monthly payment plan, one-time payment, 529. So you'll see that charge on your student's account with all of the other tuition charges. Did I miss anything, Carrie?
Nope, I think that's correct. Just to provide some clarity to it a little bit more, the charges that go on a student account is going to be their tuition, their room and board, the health insurance, if you have not opted out of the health insurance, and then the student body fee and those miscellaneous fees of health and wellness, green power, and media fee are all those that would be applied to the student account and would be reflected on that billing statement. So anything else that isn't on that student account, such as the bookstore, something you're paying directly to the bookstore, which is owned by Barnes and Noble, and then transportation and those room costs that Anastasia had mentioned earlier for just living on campus and furnishing your room.
And I will say, because our bookstore is a Barnes and Noble bookstore, if folks are asking for, what can I get your student for graduation or as a going off to college gift, Barnes and Noble gift card might be a nice idea, either to buy books or to stock up on Lewis and Clark gear.
All right. Still taking any questions? I see we've answered about 29 questions, which is, I think, a record so far for this summer. I'll wait a couple more minutes to see if anybody else has additional questions as they come in. And while we're waiting, I will also just put a little plug in here for our next webinar, which happens on July 7th. And that is about the liberal arts and academics at Lewis and Clark. So you'll hear from a faculty member as well as from our college advising center. So all of your college advisors that maybe you've heard from this summer, you've been hearing from, they'll talk a little bit about liberal arts here and courses and start to get you thinking about course registration, which will happen later in the month of July, at the end of July. We'll also have another webinar before that will talk more specifically to get into the details about how to prepare actually for course registration. So just to know that this next webinar is more about your overall time at Lewis and Clark and courses and what to think about when you're thinking about what courses you're wanting to take this semester and throughout your time at Lewis and Clark. And then when we get into more of the details later in the month of July, you'll get a chance to prepare for actual course registration, which is on July 30th and August 1st.
Melanie, I have one more comment to make before we sign off. I feel like I keep mentioning for transportation, and I think that it's important that we are clear that students do have to purchase a parking permit. I don't know if that's been discussed in other webinars that have happened, but that would be an additional cost if you do get approved to be able to park on campus. Then there is a parking permit that you would have to purchase, and also something to plan for future terms.
Yes. Thank you, Carrie. I'm not sure if I posted the link in there, so I just did again in the chat the link to our parking and our transportation and parking webpage. That is an additional cost, but again, first year students are not allowed to have cars on campus, so that is something to think about, not just planning for the future, your future years at Lewis and Clark, but also if we're anticipating having a car on campus, that is something you'll want to take care of before you get here because first year students aren't allowed, and everybody who parks on campus, including staff and everyone, has to purchase a parking pass. So something to think about and can be done through that office if you'd like to waive that requirement and request to waive that requirement. I don't see any other questions coming through. Does anybody else want to give any final thoughts before we close out our webinar for today?
I just want to make sure that people know how excited we are to welcome your students to campus. We are here all throughout the summer. We do a lot of work with students and families over the course of the summer. And so please don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions. We've tried to kind of say, well, what does student accounts do and what does financial aid do? But if you just reach out to one of our offices or to Melanie's office with the NSO department, we will get you to the right place to answer your questions. We're happy to talk with you.
Yeah, I'd say the same, just echoing what Anastasia is saying. Please do reach out to us. We want to make sure that it's as smooth as the transition as possible, and that you can just enjoy NSO and have most things with our offices hopefully resolved before NSO happens.
And I will say I made a mistake on this date. All of our webinars are Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, and I realized that I put the wrong date. It should actually say July 8th, which is the Tuesday of that week. And I think there was another question about what the next, let's see, the next webinar, the one that I talked about with course registration. So liberal arts and academics, July 8th. And then the one about course registration and preparing for that is on July 22nd. So I'll put that again in our in the Q&A. Apologies for that. And thank you so much. We're so excited to welcome you all to campus, your students, and we look forward to working with you throughout the summer. Any questions, as I mentioned, our offices are open and happy to help. Thank you so much for attending, and we will see you soon.